taxes, keeping my books straight, running a profit and loss statement, it all gets so confusing. I used to spend more time trying to worry about my taxes, and if I'm doing them right, than I actually did working on my business. I needed a solution. That is when I found Core Financial. Core is a team of tax professionals that actually care about real relationships with their clients. From the moment I hired Core, I was able to trust that I will be fully taken care of. They run my books, keep me up to date with my finances, and make sure I'm taking full advantage of all the tax breaks I qualify for. Are you struggling to understand your finances? Do you need help making sure you don't make any mistakes? Look no further. Core Financial. Both Nick and I are huge fans of Core Financial, and we know you will be too. Check out howtofilmweddings.com/core to see what they can do for you. Core Financial. Real relationships. No surprises.
See how long you can just draw out that hello. Hello. Oh, never mind.
Hello and welcome to the How to Film Weddings podcast. It's a new week. My name is John Bunn and I'm joined today by Nick Miller, my co-host. Always the co-host, Nick Miller. How are you, Mr. Nick Miller? How many times can I say Nick Miller?
I don't know. Let's just keep it rolling and somebody can keep track. And if they... No, we're not going to do a game like that. But I am doing really, really well. I got back from vacation just a couple days ago. We went to South Dakota, Mount Rushmore, Sylvan Lake. My kids rode some horses. I ate this really, really good buffalo burger. Great time. Yeah. Great time. Had a good time. So glad to be back. Glad to, be here and working on How to Film Wedding stuff and recording a podcast with you. I like recording podcasts with you. It's a good time.
Thanks, Nick Miller. I'm going to call you Nick Miller as many times as possible. This last weekend, I had two weddings, one on Friday, one on Saturday.
How did they go?
It's getting really hot here in Oklahoma. It was good. I'm wearing a mask. It's different, but I'm just really happy that people are having weddings still just interested and leery about the rest of the season. Are we going to have a big wave? I don't want to get into politics or any of that kind of talk necessarily, but I'm just cautious. I've pushed pause on all kinds of extra spending, and I'm just piling up savings just in case I need it. Yep. Had several people. I just had my first person move from October to May and had a really good conversation with her and her fiance just about why I'm going to have to charge more. Ended up charging her $2,000 more to switch it. Which, is a lose for me, but at the same time, it was what I felt was right. So been dealing with all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's just an interestingly weird time, but I'm so happy to be back at weddings and, I'm excited that you're back home. I felt kind of lost with you, so far away from me. Usually you're only 3 hours away and you were 11 hours away. So
more like 14.
I had anxiety and now you're back. And your beard is back, and all things are good. So glad to be back in the saddle, and I'm glad to be talking about something with you today, the subject of branding.
And is that what we're talking about?
It is. You know this already.
I did.
Nick Miller. Come on, Nick Miller. But it is all about the brand. We are talking about that today because, you and I have been talking behind the scenes about your brand, your new brand with your new website and just everything that goes into the brand. A lot of people think, it's a logo and that's it. But we want to just break it down and talk about what all the brand should mean for you. This is a great time for you to be thinking about your brand because believe it or not, if this, virus calms down for next year's going to be extra busy and you want to get things as ready as possible now instead of later.
Yes, absolutely. So, my wife and I are rebranding our website. It's more of a facelift kind of thing. I mean, we're not getting a new logo. We're just updating it a little bit, but the whole website is going to have a fresh new look. We hired a designer. She's out in California. Saw some of the work that she had done with some photography friends on their website. And so my wife was like, we're going to hire her and she is going to make it look awesome. And we got our first proof back of our website like this last week, and I was blown away. I'm just so amazed. I really feel like, my wedding clients, whenever they're like, Nick, I had this idea for my film and all this stuff, and you just blew it out of the water. Like, this didn't even to compare to what I had in my mind, because what I had in my mind wasn't near this good. Like, that's really how I felt about this website. So it's not public yet. We're not going to share it with you guys quite yet. But in the next, I think she'll probably be done in the next month or so with all of it. I'm really, really excited about this rebrand. My wife has put in a lot of work, and we've been working together talking about, what we're going to do. So I'm so excited. I'm just so excited.
And, I really want to talk about branding because, it is very important to your success. Before we were hitting record, I was talking to Nick about this is an area that I always play this I know everything kind of role, and like I've got all my crap together and like I'm winning so hard. But this is one of the areas for me that I feel like I have failed so hard. So many of you have messaged me and been like, "Hey man, don't know, but like your site seems like it needs some updating," or and your branding, and it's very true. And I keep telling myself I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna update the brand. And like before we were hitting record, Nick, was saying, "Man, if you just updated your branding, your $6,500 starting prices, like you're probably gonna be able to bump that even higher." And it's not just a website, it's not just a logo. So Nick, I wanted to kind of interview you a little bit about, you've done what, a lot of times in our mentor sessions, I'll be like, go to Nick's website and like see what he's done with his branding. And with How to Film Weddings, we get a lot of comments about the brand that we've built and the way that it looks and that it feels. And that's all Nick. And, me saying, ooh, let's tweak this once he's designed something. But it's like this genius mind and thinking about branding. So Nick, how important has branding been to you in your success with Wild Oak Films? And what do you think of the role that it has played with How to Film Weddings?
Yeah, it's so crucial. It does so much. I think of how you can be very. I don't know why my mind went to this, but there are certain. Let's say, we've worked with maybe certain photographers in the past, and I'm saying photographers because that's my reference. If I was a photographer, I'd probably say videographer. I'm not like calling anybody out, but you go to their Instagram or something and you just look through their photos and that stuff, and you look kind of through how they are, and then you spend the day with them on the wedding day, and you're like, okay, what? Like these things don't go together. And it's like how you have presented yourself online is not how you actually are. And I think that is a great representation of how important branding is, because if you have branded yourself in a certain way, you can totally trick people into thinking a certain way. I know I might trickery. I know I might be going a little bit negative, and I'm not necessarily mean to. I'm just saying that that's the power of your brand. Is if you only put certain types of images, if you only put certain types of things on your website, if you cast yourself in a certain light and you're always pushing that, then that's what people will believe and think is, kind of who you are and that kind of stuff. So, it can be something that's very positive for your business and everything. But, if you're not careful, it might deter people. I don't know the right word, but I'm thinking of a few people I've worked with that it like how they were in their brand didn't match up. And I'm sure that there are so many people out there that how you are and how you run your business is way better than your brand looks, right? And so whenever we're talking about, man, I don't know if I'm answering this right. I feel like I'm just talking a little bit.
Sometimes I'll ask you a question and you get going, and then you're way over, and I in my head I think, where's he taking this? And then about that time you'll go, I don't know if I'm answering the question. And I'm like, what question did I ask?
What question
I asked you, how important is it to your success?
Okay.
And to the success of How to Film Weddings.
I will say
it back in.
Reeling it back in. Maybe we just do a little rewind, Blake. Do a little rewind and then just ask that question don't listen to me. Anyway, it is very important for our success, how we are putting ourselves out there and how we looked. Last year, whenever we were in Colorado and we did a How to Film Weddings meetup, there was a guy that I was talking to. I want to say his name was Matt, and he was like, "Man, I don't really listen to your podcast too much." I was like, "Oh, okay," but he goes, "One thing that I will say is that your brand is on point. Like anytime I see any imagery, anytime I see any of your podcast videos, anytime I watch any of your YouTube videos, like there's this feel to it, and I just know that it's yours." Okay, you have done a good job of putting your faces all over it and having a look and having a feel. And so one of the things with that is going to be consistency, is a really important part of your brand. It seems that creatives, I think, like to evolve and like to change. The problem with that, especially when it comes to logos and design and that kind of stuff, just about the time that the world is starting to get used to what you look like and what you do, you're already like moving on to the next thing. And so there is a reason McDonald's has had basically the same logo since they started. Okay. They little tweaks and, things along the way, but they have stayed pretty much the same because it's so recognizable. And if you as a brand, as a business, you want to say something, you want to be something, you're going to have some consistency with that. And so it's super important to your success to have a brand that people can rely on. It comes back to the thing that I always come back to when it comes to branding is how does it make me feel, and really leaning into that. If you have a high-end brand, if you're catering to the rich and the fancy, like John is, he said, I want people to feel like, oh, that is so beautiful. Like take your breath away whenever they watch his work, or, those really emotional moments. How does it make you feel? And we get that comment, with our work at Wild Oak Films and our website and kind of stuff. It's just like, you just have this more of an outdoorsy, more of an adventure vibe. And, that comes to the colors that we put and the editing style that we have and, all of that. So a lot of the things that we have done in this success, I attribute, a big chunk of that to our branding and how everything looks and feels.
When we started How to Film Weddings, I have learned a lot since then about like the branding side of your business. I think about, different companies out there, White and Reverie or Hello Tomorrow or J and Mac, or you start thinking about these people that have these different feel, you say Penn Weddings or you say Ray Roman or you Sculpting with Time, and it's like, oh, each one of them, you hear the names, if you follow their work, you're like, their brand feels like them. And like you said about the friend in Denver or Colorado, wherever you were, just saying like you could tell it's you. And I remember at the beginning when we were doing our thumbnails for our YouTube channel, and like I made a video and just posted it, and you're like, I need to change that thumbnail because there's not a yellow box around the outside like the other ones. And I was like, oh, okay, like that's fine. Like, I'm sorry, I thought I made it to like use the same font and stuff. And like Nick has always been next level, just detailed, focused on that. But I think that although it's annoying to somebody like me, it makes a big difference to people when you're so consistent. One of the stories that I tell at my church, that's a church of about 10,000 people, and I had come from a church of like 2,500 people, and I worked on the staff there, and I just saw the behind the scenes, and so I knew what it took to run a church service for thousands of people. I knew that microphones and lights, and I knew everything had to work together. And we were visiting this new church, considering switching churches. And in the middle of the sermon that the pastor was giving, his microphone had just a tiny like reverb, and he goes, and it's a pretty big stage, and he was like, did my mic? And as soon as he said that, there was already somebody dressed in all black with a handheld mic standing there saying, like, handing him a new mic. And I was like, whoa, I want to go to church here, because they paid so much attention to that detail. I knew that their kids services had to be so good. And I knew that the way that they prepared for their messages and that was so influential to me. And they've told that story to their media team because we are literal members of that church for 10 years now because of those little details. And would we have not continued to go to church there if he would have had to wait for a second to get a new microphone? No, that's not the point. But that little extra detail where they were so excellent in that, it was just like, oh my goodness, it blew my mind. And that's those little things with your branding, the framing on that thumbnail. Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but it matters a lot. And every little piece comes together where if you do see something from us for How to Film Weddings, it's just like, I'm proud of our branding because we've done such a good job of being consistent and updating it, and our website and our graphics and just the way things come into the screen, and the way that we present ourselves, the way that we write on our website, the way that we, we're not just taking ourselves too seriously. There's just so many different layers that go into the brand as opposed to just, oh, we've got a logo, we got a website. So Nick, when you're thinking about your brand, Wild Oak Films, or if someone's out there listening thinking, I want to step up my game with my brand, what would be some practical steps that they should do to maybe just look through their current brand to see whether what they should be thinking about first? What things, if I said, hey, tell me with Redeemed Productions what you would change immediately, what would you be thinking about? What are some practical steps besides just hiring a website person? But like, where would I go with Redeemed Productions if you were my branding manager?
Right. So the one thing that I heard a while ago that has really stuck with me is, are you running a business or are you running a brand? Okay. And kind of the idea behind a business is this is sort of a faceless corporation that, you don't know anything about the people, you just know that they make something good. Now, I think of something like Coca-Cola. Now, they have a very solid brand and you recognize them and you can see them everywhere and that kind of stuff, but you don't know the people behind it. You don't care because they have a product that's so massive and so kind of everywhere. They do have a brand, but they're more running, a business. Where we, in our profession, right, we don't have the benefit of being in thousands of stores across the country that have been around for, 100 years and selling this product, and people are going to buy it no matter what because they're addicted to it, or, that sort of stuff. And so in my idea, when I think about a brand, a business is more like faceless. Okay. But a brand, is kind of the person that behind it, the persona behind it. And so one thing, a switch that we made a few years ago in our business was really saying Wild Oak Films is run by Nick and Jen. We're a husband-wife team. We have kids, we have a dog, we like going to Chick-fil-A and Target, and, we're involved in church, and, all these certain things about us. And so we have made it, personal about us. One of the things that we're really proud of, and I don't know, this was Jen's idea and I don't know where she got it. She probably came up with it because she's cool. But, on our About Us page, I wrote a section of things I love about Jen, and she wrote things I love about Nick. And so we're like telling the world about each other, through our own eyes. And that's kind of our bio for each other, is stuff that we wrote about each other. And so that, kind of sets the tone for what Wild Oak Films is. And it's true, on your website, the most visited page other than your homepage is your About Me page, and people just want to see that face behind it. So, as you're thinking about your brand, I think you need to ask the question, do you want to infuse yourself in it? How key are you to your business? Okay. If you're running a volume brand, or you have multiple teams and you're just kind of, assigning people, putting a face on it, I don't know if that's your best call or your best move. If you do it correctly, hi, I'm Nick and I run, this business that has these 7 teams and we work together and, like that kind of stuff. But, if you're kind of, just running a bunch of, I don't know if that's the right thing, but if it's just you, or it's, you and your spouse, or you and your partner, or, whoever it may be, I think building a good quality brand is putting yourself in it. One thing as your sales, you always want to attract and repel. You want to get the right people in front of you and push the wrong people away. And how are people going to know if you're the right fit for them if you're shallow in, describing yourself, or not very deep? I don't mean shallow as in like, I just mean it's not very deep, not really about you. So they don't learn things about you. If someone, doesn't want to hire me because, I have a dog, I mean, that's a dumb reason, but I'm just saying, like, if they would be very against that, then okay, like they need to know I have a dog, those things that are differentiators. And so when it comes to being a brand, I think infusing yourself is number one priority. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. And so if I were like, I'm about to change up the Redeemed Productions branding. So there are people that have been out there that, usually it's like a friend asks you to film their wedding, and then you film it, and then you like it or you don't like it. If you like it, you stick around. You start doing more and more weddings. You don't charge enough. You put up a website, you're backlogged. By the time you get caught up with your backlog, you're full for the next year. And so it's like, does it matter if I have good branding? And so, the next step for a lot of people is going to be something like, okay, I have this website. I built it myself. I have this logo that I had a friend help me with, or I paid someone on Fiverr, or it's just like my name and text or whatever. They've never really taken the time to like think through how they want to make people feel. Redeemed Productions is the most terrible name for a wedding film company. I just started it because I needed a name to film a hockey tournament and made it up in a day. And it's been my name for 14 years and it says nothing about weddings. So I go back and forth with like, well, I've got all this, name recognition with that in my town. And should I change it? Should I not? But I think most people are kind of in the position of like,
sure,
it's good. It's fine. But like, what things stand out to you? And I know you've been on my site specifically, but when you go onto people's sites with mentor sessions and yes, infusing your personality, but like what kinds of things would you like change about most people's sites that you see? Like when it comes to like the way things are laid out, the way they feel, the way what kinds of things stand out to you?
Yeah. The first thing is going to be, let's say when I'm looking at videos, it's going to be thumbnails. What images are you putting on your videos, to show them off? And so many people just aren't thinking about that, or they're like, the video will speak for itself. But if you don't get anyone to click on the video because the thumbnail isn't good, then it doesn't really matter. So thumbnails are one thing. I think a lot of people are like you have said you were, like I know I was, whenever you're getting started, you just want to do everything because you want to build a portfolio and you want to make money and you want to work. And so your website feels a little maybe disjointed because at the time, whenever you got started, you didn't know who your client was, which I think this is just a growing pain that everyone goes through. And very, very few people have a clear vision of what their brand is and what they want to do when they get started. The exception would be my friend Lucy of Lucy Cameron Films. And I think that she got a lot of help because her older sister is a kind of a higher end photographer in Dallas and a web designer. And so whenever she like launched her business filming no weddings, she had this website that I was like, I want that website. Like, that's amazing. Like, this looks like a person that is 5 years into their business and she hadn't shot very much at all, professionally wedding like that. So, I think, people don't know who their client is. They don't know the types of stuff that they want to shoot. And a big reason that you don't know the types of stuff you want to shoot when you're first started is because you haven't done it yet. And so one of the things, whenever Jen and I did a mentorship with David from Forestry Films, he was like, I want you to sit down and I want you to figure out who your ideal client is. And you need to say, how old are they? Where do they work? Where do they live? Where do they shop? What do they watch? What do they, just kind of make up this person and say, that's who I want to sell to. And then your website, your images, the way that you write should make it so that if that person came upon your website, right, that they would be like, okay, these are my people. Mm-hmm. And a little thing that people do, colors on your website. They say a lot about your brand and how it looks. So maybe just have colors that are, too loud might be the way, or that don't really go together. I'm kind of big on fonts. The kind of fonts that you have on your website make a big difference. The logo itself. What are you trying to say and who are you trying to sell to? One of so whenever I started business, I was Nick Miller Films, and I did three logos as Nick Miller Films before we switched over to Wild Oak Films. And the last one that we did, it ended up looking the best font the best kind of logo that I could describe it is it kind of looked like a hotel logo. Okay. Like a nice kind of classy high-end hotel. And then maybe after having that logo for about 6 months, I realized that wasn't the type of client that I wanted to serve, were those types of clients. And so and then Jen decided she wanted to join. We were going to go full time together. And so that's whenever we decided to change her name to Wild Oak Films and that kind of stuff. And so we were very purposeful in what our logo looked like. We wanted to be something more outdoorsy. We wanted to be something more adventure, which is, goes with our name, Wild Oak Film. That sounds kind of more, outdoorsy, kind of adventure-y. But then also how it was written and how it was designed and how it was put together has more of that kind of feel. It was more hand-drawn. It was more of a rougher design. And then, the colors that we chose, it was like kind of golds and browns and whites and, kind of stuff that's more nature muted kind of colors, because that kind of represents the outdoorsiness. So colors are going to be big, and look at the colors that you have and say, how does this make me feel? Is it overbearing? Whenever you put font colors on your background, what does that look like? How does that make you feel? Are you the script that you have that you're writing? If you are someone like John who's going to a higher end, kind of client, how you write the things on the copy on your website might be a little bit more different than someone who is, trying to get elopements, right? And that's all they want to shoot. Because if you're in higher end, the chances are you're going to be working with a more affluent type of people, right? Doctors, lawyers, accountants, those type. But whenever you're, doing elopements, people are purposefully not having these big weddings to have something more intimate and just, them. So you're going to write it a little bit different. So again, I keep coming back to how does it make you, feel? What do you want to share with your audience? What do you want them to feel whenever they come to your website and as they read through everything? So lots of things to think about there. It's more than just a logo, but it all really works together.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think that as, I'm listening to you say that, it's like, it's very strategic in starting with, defining who that audience is, and then saying, where do they shop? Okay, those are some of the brands that they would purchase. What are those brands doing? Or, I want an outdoorsy vibe, so I'm not going to use black and white, which feels like a tux or a ballroom or a, I want more of grays and golds and muted tones. And I want my hand-drawn logo because that feels more outdoorsy, and that all just works together. And that's why Nick is always like kind of tweaking. And, since I've known him, this is like his third iteration of Wild Oak Films, like logo. He just keeps updating it a little bit. And same thing with like the How to Film Weddings logo. We've had specific looks that it's the same look, but it's better. It's just updated and it's clean. It's fresh. I wanted to ask you before heading into the break, doesn't have to be wedding filmmakers. It'd be nice if a couple were, but who stands out to you that does a really good job with their brand?
I think one of the best brands on the planet is Apple. They have just done a solid job in the look and the feel, and I'm special because I have an iPhone. Like that. Just their persona. Everything that they have done. Apple is very, very quality. As far as in the wedding world, John touched on them. I think Hello Tomorrow, our Canadian friends, they do a really, really good job of that outdoorsy adventure vibe. Forestry Films, another company that John and I both really appreciate and look up to David and what him and Harmony have done to theirs. Adjacent, going to be the photography world, and I really like Maddie May's Adventure Instead. How she has kind of built this whole new company around just doing elopements and the feel of everywhere with that. And then, Ray Roman has done a fantastic job of branding himself as the premier high-end wedding videographer in, if not the country, the world, it's all about how you're presenting yourself, online and the look and the feel and, all that kind of stuff. So those are, people within our industry that I know and look up to have done a great job.
I think it's funny, it's interesting. We're drawn to brands that are similar to us that we like and so,
Definitely.
all of those brands are people that are, besides, Ray, you said the adventurous vibe. And I was thinking about how much I really like Johnny Apple and his brand, and Larev Films and their brand, and Ray Roman and his brand, and like thinking about even sculpting with time, the way that they've branded, or but like the ones that I'm drawn to are the ones like Larev, who do celebrity and high-end weddings, Lindsay and Cherish Conklin out of Southern California, because that is like, I want my brand to feel like that one. And so if you're out there listening, that's a good tell on where you should be going and what you should be doing with your brand. Not to copy them, but it's like take and say, hey, I love the way these people are doing their brand. And you have to be honest with yourself. It's like, I'm not J and Mac Films. They're amazing. They're outdoors. They're fun. They're husband and wife team. I want to do weddings that are a few miles from my house in the most expensive places, and I want to sleep in my bed, and I want to do 10 of them a year. So I need to charge a lot. And I am okay with that. And when I first got going, I didn't really know that a lot. So a lot more to talk about. We're going to talk about updating your brand, when to do that, all after this break.
So tell me, what CRM do you use? If you're not sure or you don't know what a CRM is, I'm about to save you a lot of time and therefore money. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. Basically, a CRM is an online service that helps you better serve your clients. HoneyBook is both mine and John's CRM of choice. We absolutely love it. HoneyBook allows us to do all of our correspondence, contracts, and payments all in one place. One of the features that I love is the automated workflow. We all have emails that we send out to all of our clients, right? At 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, the week of. All of us do it. Automated workflows make it so that those emails can go out automatically. Since I don't have to take time to, 1, remember to send them out, and 2, to write them, I save time and make more money by working more efficiently. Are you interested in saving time on the business side of things? Go to howtofilmweddings.com/honeybook for a free 1-week trial. Also, because the Honeybooks really like me and John, we can give you $200 off of your first year, and that also comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Go to howtofilmweddings.com/honeybook to start saving lots of time in your business. Oh yeah, legally I have to tell you that John and I are affiliates of Honeybook.
All right, we are back from break, and we are going to start this segment with our question of the day presented by Wedditor. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing. I have to say, I just got back another edit from Wedditor, and it is blowing my mind. I got a message from a friend the other day saying they got their first wedding back from Wedditor, and they were like, my life has changed. If you haven't checked out Wedditor, be sure to do that. Nick,
do it.
The question of the day, when is it time for me to update my brand?
Really, really good question. And I think that I guess you need to decide, are you going for like an overhaul or just kind of a refresh? Jen and I, on our website, we're constantly making little tweaks, here and there. I would say that a really good time to update your brand is probably going to be whenever you start to have a really, really good idea of the types of weddings that you want to shoot. And I think for most people, that's going to be somewhere between 2 and 4 years in. Okay. Whenever you have a really fleshed out, these are the types of weddings that I want to do. These are the types of people I want to work with. These are the types of films that I want to make. I would say that is a really great time to update your brand. And at that point, if you're 2 to 4 years in, you hopefully are making some money so you can invest in having a professional do it. One of the things that I find so funny with our industry, right, is we get so upset whenever, a bride hires, a friend to do the wedding video, or they're like, oh, we're just going to have iPhones or, whatever. And you're like, no, hire a professional. But then whenever it comes to our look and our feel, like $5,000 for a new logo and a website. No, I can do it myself. When you have absolutely no clue how to do that kind of stuff. Okay. So that's something that to keep in mind. Now, if you have a background in design, in branding, and that stuff, that's a totally different story. But I'm just guessing that most of us have no clue how to do this kind of thing. Okay, and even people like me and my wife that are very capable of doing that thing, we decided to have someone else do it for their expertise, and then also so that we wouldn't have to, spend the time to do it. So I think a great time, probably whenever you figure out your ideal client, the types of wedding you want to shoot, and then what do you got? Well,
for me, when I first started, I had, I need to pull up my first logo, but I'm a Christian company, and Redeemed Productions has a T in it at the end there. And so I made the T, a nice big cross that was hand drawn. I made it on, I think it was Paint. Was that a program? This was 2006.
Microsoft Paint.
Yes, yeah. That. And it was like Redeemed Entertainment for a while, and then it was Redeemed Productions, and like the T was a big cross, and there was like bursts of energy coming out of it, and it was like just so bad. And like I remember I dropped I think $400 for another logo, and then like $400 or $500 for the current logo I have. And I think that I changed logos last and updated my brand last, no joke, in 2012. Like, this is unbelievably embarrassing. But my website, I built, like, I had a professional build a new website. Like, I updated my logo last in that, not my brand, but my logo. And I've made a bunch of tweaks to my site, and I've done different things. But what I was going to add is the more that I've invested into that, whenever I started putting myself and infusing that, and my brand has evolved and changed. My logo has not. And like my website at a certain point has not. And so, you know, every single time I've made a tweak and an overhaul to the way that I have my pricing sheet or the words that are on my site, or, you know, just talking about using words like heirloom in my branding and luxurious and timeless and romantic and words that feel like what I want my brand. And the more that I've done that, that is when I've made those changes in my pricing. So, you know, I'm giving myself a hard time about not having done a full overhaul, but 3 to 5 times a year, I'm updating things into my brand. But like,
Sure.
it is time. I know it's time for me to pay a professional again to redesign and maybe even rename my brand, really change my website and build something completely, you know, personal to where I want to go, and building it more around me. When I first started, I didn't want my face on anything. I didn't think anybody would want a guy filming their wedding. I didn't know that it was a mainly male dominated industry. I was just like, I couldn't believe that somebody would want a dude at their wedding filming them, and so I was embarrassed to be in front of the, you know, and the more that I put myself out there, the more money I made, and the more that I updated things, the more money I made. And so for me, the answer to what time is it for me to update my brand? It's when you want to take your business to the next level. Whether that's 6 months in, whether that's 2 years in. And yes, it's probably, like Nick is saying, in the 2 to 4 range when you first get going. But, you know, I was talking to, you know, Henry Martins the other day, and he's just like updating his brand. And it's like, how does that guy need to update anything? Like, he's a legend. He's amazing. Like, I want to be doing what you do, you know, or same thing. And it's like Ray Roman just updated his brand, and Penn Weddings just updated their website a couple of years back, and Lil Rev just and it's not so we can just impress each other, but the reason that we're doing that and we're hiring people that are professionals to do that is because the return on your investment, Nick with $5,000, $6,000 into a new website is going to see exponential growth in his business and his brand, like the money that's coming in, because he made that investment into his brand.
So the girl that we're using, 315 Studios, I think is her name. I'll be sure to, you know, get that so you can check her out in the link below. Raven is her name. And the photographers that we follow on Instagram, they used her, and they, you know, updated their website. And whenever my wife was messaging, you know, what's your experience? You know, was it worth the cost and everything? And they said it was maybe within like 2 weeks or maybe a month after they had launched their site, they got an influx of new business that more than covered the cost of the rebrand, you know, the redesign of their website. Okay. They're like, it has elevated our business. If you hire the right person and you infuse yourself correctly, technically you could not do anything different for how you film your weddings and how you film your films. But if your website looks the right way and is worded right and is true to who you are, you could probably charge more money without changing anything but just the look and feel of your website. It matters a lot.
Yeah, and that's, to me, I keep saying to myself, like, well, whenever I'm not all the way booked, like, why would I update things? Because I'm still booking at a higher rate and getting fully booked every year. And it's like, I look back and think, well, crap, if I would have just updated a couple of years ago, I'd probably be charging way more than I am now. I look at myself and it's like, well, I'm averaging $8,000 plus this year for a wedding film, and it's like, I could be charging more than that. I could be, who knows? And it's not just about charging more than that. And I know we talk about business so much on this podcast, but like, artistically speaking, I feel unfulfilled because my website and brand doesn't portray me as an artist like I want it to right now. And I feel like, that's not me exactly. I mean, it's close, but it's not where I currently am. It's not telling people my story. It's not. And that does bring me to a point. I posted in our Facebook group the other day, just like for business books and things. And Nick had talked about this one too, but Building a Story Brand is such a good book, and we can link it. But just the way that book is written, the way that it kind of talks about you in the story of your customer. And I said this a few weeks back, but in your branding, you need to set yourself up as the guide, and the bride and groom, the couple, they need to be the hero of the story. And you're there to help them, and you're there to show them that you're going to help them have their best day with whatever it is that you do, your special sauce. And you should infuse that into your actual branding on your website. And they should feel like, wow, I can't tell my story without this person helping me, without this company helping me. And so there's a lot psychologically that goes alongside that too. Not just the look and the feel, but I know that if there's not a call to action every, swipe of the finger there on the phone, it's like, oop, you're missing out. And that's one thing that I love about, Nick's site and his new site is just there's an easy call to action on every page. What should I do next? Where should I go next? And little tweaks like that by hiring a professional that's like, hey, you don't have anywhere for them to contact you unless they hit the menu button and then hit contact. You should have something that says meet Nick and Jen or talk to Nick and Jen like halfway down, and like just infusing that side of things, the psychological side of things, into your brand as well.
Yeah, definitely. Building a story brand. It's amazing book. And if you want to up, just the client experience and walking them through, basically every movie that you can really think of, has a formula where you have the guide taking the hero through a journey. And so that's what he kind of does, Donald Miller in his book, does in talking about, your clients is, taking them, they're the hero and they're the ones that has to go on this journey, and you're the one that just helps them along. Another thing that John mentioned there on your website, call to action at, the middle and bottom of at least every single page, whether that's go check out this video or contact us or, whatever. Having people kind of get lost within your website is a great thing for them to do, for your brand. So, yeah,
I think it's great. I don't have anything else to add to that.
Okay, cool.
Do you remember that wedding from a month ago? Yeah, like that one that you needed to start editing yesterday? But you also need to prep today for your wedding tomorrow, and you're leaving for your first vacation in forever on Monday. So what do? It seems that the only creative part of your edits are the excuses you're going to have to give your clients. We have the solution, Wedditor. Wedditor is a team of top wedding editors, project managers, and account coordinators that help us wedding filmmakers edit. They match the right editors with your style so you can spend your time where it matters most, on your business. Nick and I both use Wedditor, and we don't know how we would run our companies without them. It takes a team to build an amazing business, and you shouldn't try to do it all on your own. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedditor to help you free up your time so that you can focus on growing your brand. Be sure to use promo code HTFW for $50 off your first project. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing. We know the time suck that is searching for the perfect song for your wedding film. MusicBed has spent years collaborating with artists, bands, and composers to make it easier than ever for anyone to find the right song for their video.
With amazing artists like Chapters, Tony Anderson, and The Light, The Heat, MusicBed is the best place for wedding videographers to get licensed music.
Their subscription service was a life changer for me, especially since all of their subscription music is pre-cleared for every social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, Love Stories TV, and my personal favorite, YouTube, all pre-cleared.
And if you are interested in a free month of a MusicBed wedding subscription, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed. When you sign up, use the promo code HTFW and you will get your first month for free.
Cool. What other things do you want to ask me, since I'm so awesome at this?
Yes. So you are getting your new site done.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
And the process, you talked about that a little bit, but like, what things when you're looking at it stand out to you when you're just like, you've texted me a few times like, dude, I just saw the site and it's so good. I'm so excited. Being a brand first kind of person and thinking about graphic design and emotion and all that, what has stood out to you about your site, or what stands out to you about sites that make you go, yes, this company is doing it right? Anything else to add to that conversation?
I think that, again, I keep, it's so weird. I keep coming back to that feel, and that's going to be different for everyone. You were right whenever you said, I said Forestry Films and Hello Tomorrow and Adventure Instead, and you're like Ray Roman and LaRev and, like these kind of companies, it's going to be totally different for other people. But even if I go to Ray Roman's site or I go to LaRev's site, I can look at and really appreciate, the things that they are doing. I think intentionality is huge. You can go to someone's website and you can tell if what they're doing was very purposeful or not, just by looking at how everything is laid out. reading through some of the stuff that they have, going to their Instagram account and just kind of going through their feed. You can tell if it's intentional. And so I think intentionality is a really, really big one that I'm like, okay, these people have it together. They have a really, really good idea of what they want to do, with their business.
Yeah, it's all very good. I'm very excited to see all the things that come about with your new website. And I honestly, this is the time for me, and for a lot of listeners out there where you should, if it's bugging you, if the branding on your site or what you're doing is bugging you, but homework is to get out a piece of paper or write it out on a spreadsheet and start defining your ideal audience, and then where they shop, the things that they, are looking for, the places they purchase things, and finding websites that you really like, and or the websites of those people that, if you Louis Vuitton's website or Calvin Klein or Nike asking yourself, why do you like that? What is it about that stands out to you? Is this a timeless feel? And then other wedding filmmakers and wedding photographers have some incredible sites, and just kind of taking some time and pulling and taking screenshots and building your own board of this is the mood I want for my brand. And then working with either a professional or slowly updating your site until you can get enough set aside, to be updating your brand. But if you're not thinking about it, you're just going to kind of be vanilla and mediocre, and you're not going to see the return. I can go on someone's site and in 5 seconds know whether or not, yep, they've got their stuff together. I just think about Blink Films. Whenever the first time I saw one of her films, I was just done. She's so good. Just the way it felt immediately. And that's the kind of stuff where I don't want to shoot elopements in the mountains with snow, but watching her film, I'm just if I was that person, I would want to hire her. And
definitely.
So many things go into the branding and everything with your website. Nick, thanks so much for taking your knowledge and opening it up and brain dumping onto the table. Appreciate that for today.
Glad I could do that.
Yeah, taking brain dumps is hard work. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this thing up.
Well, yes, please do.
For those of you that are not in our Facebook group, do us a favor, facebook.howtofilmweddings.com. Also check out howtofilmweddings.com/shop. A ton of digital templates in there that can help you and your business. Leave us a comment below if you have any questions about this episode, and until next time, we'll see you.
See ya.